All right, guys, today's video is going to be a little bit different. And that's because this video was so involving for me and it took me so long that I needed to actually make a video that also includes the methodology and how in God's world I managed to figure this out. So this is, again, this video is going to be different. This is going to be a methodology learning video and what it is I'm showing you. So the reason for this is because I had sat there and spent about 2 months going through the craziest of issues on my computer I've ever seen when it came to trying to get DaVinci Resolve to work on an Unraid server. But I managed to overcome it. And so what I wanted to do, instead of just giving you guys a quick how to do this by showing you just only specifically what you needed, I also took the time to show you guys exactly my thinking behind what it was I was deciding to do, how I went about doing it, right? And I did my best try to not leave anything unturned. And so my hope is that it will actually get you guys running on your own, and that way I can be in the background and actually, focus on making things even better for y'all, knowing that you guys are not only up and running, but you can also take care of things on your own if you run into unique issues on your own. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with the video. All right, guys. Now, you're staying with the series. You know what we're here for. We're going to be doing DaVinci Resolve in a container, right? I'm actually going to, while I'm here, go ahead and trash this because I do want to start this from the beginning, right? This is my second attempt recording because, doing this stuff is hard. It's hard, guys. I'm telling you. All right. So first order of business, right, is remember the disclaimer I did earlier, right? I am going to walk you through as many different parts of my setup as I can, so I don't leave nothing unturned, so you can understand how I have things set up and you could potentially translate it, either mimic it yourself, don't mimic it. I live life on the edge and crazy, all right? Don't do it. But, translate it into how you want to have your setup, right? And then you can, work from there, make things better, blah, blah, and all that, right? All right, so first order of business, let me just show you how I'm arrays, right? So the only thing really specific for this thing is just that I have an SSD that I call Docker, dedicated for my Docker images, and I have a remote share, right, which I happen to have on a different server. I have it on a QNAP server, right? You could totally create your own share if you want. I have an SMB share because I like to use the Windows stuff, and again, right, you can do this on the Unraid server itself instead of connecting it to some other server, right? Now the reason why that's important, right, so let me jump here into the terminal, right? I'm stressing this because I need you guys to see, well, I guess it's just ls, right? If I stop it, all right, if I ls mount slash, I think it's remotes, isn't it? Yep. Right, for ls remotes, right? See, there go the folder, right? And this is going to be important because we are going to have Ubuntu, right? Ubuntu is going to be connected to this folder, right, in the container, and that's how we're going to be able to move files from between your Ubuntu Unraid container, right, and your actual Windows system, right, to get files in there. I found that to be the most easiest, right? This is not to say that I know every single way you can go about doing this. But that's just me. You do definitely going to need that, and I'm telling you, it's so much easier if you do it at least the way I did it. It was pretty easy. So with that being said, right, so now that we have that, now let's actually talk about the Docker image, right? Oh, but most importantly too, right, make sure you do have the NVIDIA drivers, which we're actually going to do that first, right? So very first thing we are going to need to do is we are going to need to do the open source driver, right? Now look, I have gotten this to work with the production branch, okay? I have gotten this to work with the open source driver. It is a shot in the dark on getting this to actually work, okay? What I'm going to walk through with you in this video, I promise you're gonna think I'm crazy, but this was the only way I figured out so far to get this to actually work, okay? And the thing is that we're doing this for the first time on Unraid 7.0, so we don't even know what fully changed, but we'll see. As you can see, I also have 3 NVIDIA GPUs, right, the 3060s, right, that I want to put to use. And here we go, right? So we're gonna do open source. We're gonna go ahead and let it updates and download, and I think it might reboot the server. We'll see. One thing I have not figured out so far, right, because I'm gonna say it again, right, is that this is strictly, as of right now, for you to be able to have another like rendering machine. Okay, this is not for you to do like full-fledged edits on it, because I still have not figured out how to get the display portion to work. Okay, yeah, so we do gotta reboot the server. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and knock that out real quick, or better yet, I will do that after we get all of the initial setup going. So we'll just do that afterwards. Okay, but yeah, we got the open source driver is going to be installed and all that good stuff. Okay, but yeah, right, because you can't do edits, right, because like the display part, like when DaVinci Resolve opens up and you see it, like you won't be able to see the actual like display part, the part that shows you the actual video you're editing or the effects you're doing and whatnot. Yeah, that's just like a straight black screen, right? Everything else in DaVinci Resolve works, but I just have not gotten that display to work, and it's a work in progress. I just haven't had time, and my current expertise just isn't that good. But anyway, let's get back to it. So all right, so just real quick, I'm trying to keep the editing in this video as clean as possible, because as you might be noticing throughout this video, the dates is changing because we keep on hitting snack fools or problems, right? So first thing I just want to point out is that I was having, when you click that, I was kind of having issues with some other stuff that I needed to just nuke my whole Unraid server. And so I did it, and so now we're on 7.0 instead of release candidate 2, because 7.0 literally released like a couple of days ago. I think it was like the 9th. All right, so literally just a few days ago. That was the first thing. Second thing is that I think I did say earlier, right, about using the remote share. Turns out this is going to be a hit and miss for you. Sometimes this works, sometimes this doesn't, and I don't know if that's just because of either the new Unraid 7.0 update or if it's the update on the container. More than likely it's an update on the container that makes this a little bit less reliable, because I used to be able to just use this without no problems whenever I'm writing files to it. No longer the case. So what you're going to need to do is you need to make a SMB share, or NFS if you know what you're doing, obviously, right? So here you see that I made a share production, a production folder, right? And then of course I made it an SMB, gave it SMB access, right? So production, export the yes, right? And then I created another user, right? And then I made sure that user had read and write access to it, right? Which you need to make sure you go here, create the user, and do that, right? After I did that, then I connected it to Windows, right? So I have access to the folder, all right, which is going to be important later when I need to get files on and off it. All right, so you can see here my server, right, and then here's the folder, and then right, and here's where I'm throwing the stuff that we're going to be working with, specifically, trying to install DaVinci Resolve. All right, so that's important. So just wanted to clear that up. Now let's go ahead and get straight to it, right? So first thing we're doing is we're installing our desktop, right? So this is going to be from Linux server. It is going to be our Ubuntu, right? And they have a bunch of other ones. Obviously, I haven't tried any all of these, but we're just interested in Ubuntu. That's what we was able to get working. So for name, you can name your container obviously whatever you want. I am going to do DaVinci Resolve, and I want to say, don't they have the V capitalized in there? I want to say they do. We're going to change you need to change this basic view to advanced, and this is going to be important because we're going to put stuff in the extra parameters. It already has it here for me, which is nice, but we'll talk about it in a second. Let's just come here to the pathway, right? We need to add those paths. So first thing I'm going to add is the production path, right? Which is going to be to that Ubuntu folder. Container path, right? The container path is going to be where inside the container or inside Ubuntu this folder is going to be, right? Which I am going to have in the mount production Ubuntu folder, right? So when I go inside of Ubuntu, I navigate here and that's how I get to the folder. And then the host path is going to be the Unraid folder that folder is going to link to, which in this case, right, is located here because this is where the shares are, right? So those share folders that you make, right, they're going to be located in the user folder in mount, right? So as you can see here, and then of course I need to change this for that, and oh man, you know, caps lock, you know, make sure that's all good, handy dandy there. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to add that. So that's, let me just go ahead and copy this while I'm at it so that I could quickly add the other one. So this folder is intended for us to be able to move like system files, like, you know, the installation files and whatnot back and forth. And what we're going to do now is then we're going to add another folder, and this one's going to be the media folder that we're going to use for DaVinci Resolve when DaVinci Resolve is actually working with project files and actually producing video, which is going to be important later. So container path, right? So again, right, container path is where inside the Ubuntu OS we want it at, which we're going to want it in the media folder. And then the host path, right? Host path, and you know, I'll even use the navigating thing so you can see, right? Host path, right? Mount, user, production, and then my media folder, right? Boom. And then that's that, right? And then we're going to add that, and that looks fine to me. All right. And then for you guys, if you was using the remote server, like I said, that's a hit and miss. I don't recommend it anymore at this point until like that maybe stabilizes somewhat, but those are going to be located in mount / remotes. So if I go here, if I go here and then do ls, you can see here, right? See my server and then the folder name. So if I just do this, there it is, right? Because that's where, when I was originally using this is on that other server I have. Okay, cool. Now we did that. Now let's talk about extra parameters. Okay, extra parameters, that's the equivalent of Docker run. Okay, so this is going to be where we're going to put the Docker run flags in. Okay, and what we're going to want is, come on, can I, oh, sorry, my mouse is fighting me over here. Oh yeah, I forgot I had this already here. I was sitting there trying to copy and paste. All right, we're gonna throw these flags in here in order to get DaVinci Resolve to work. So let's talk about them. First and foremost, if this can get out the way, all right, runtime, NVIDIA GPUs all is making sure that the container knows and understands that we have NVIDIA GPUs and we want it to use all available GPUs, which when we get in there, you'll see that it will be able to see and use all 3 of the NVIDIA GPUs we have on the server. Okay. And then we needed to add this, right? Security op seccomp equals unconfined. And what this is this is a flag that basically allows the GPU, allows all applications. I'm just saying like what it actually, the implication, okay? So all applications inside this container will have access to all system calls available in the Linux kernel or whatever, okay? This is important because GPU applications specifically that work with hardware, like specifically the NVIDIA, you know, GPUs, the AMD GPUs or whatever, right? They make system calls that are that by default is restricted in Docker, and the only way you're going to overcome that is by adding this flag that unrestricts them. Okay, security implication behind this is obviously, right, that the container is going to have access to system calls that it didn't need to have or whatever, right? But there's really no way around this. I've tried a bunch of other ideas like run C and all this stuff, and I'm telling you, like, I just couldn't get around it. And I'm pointing this out, and this is important because we're using this container strictly for rendering jobs. We're not using it as our base editing machine. We're not using it for other things outside of rendering jobs. All right, so that reduces our installation footprint and our exposure time footprint of having the container even up. And I know I might be making it sound a lot more perilous than what it really is. I just want to just make sure you guys understand exactly what we're using this container for and why we personally didn't have a problem with setting this, because at the end of the day, in my mind, this is only going to be a problem if your container ends up getting hacked or you know, getting infected with malware, right? And then it exploits some other system call and then does, you know, all kinds of stuff. All right. Obviously, I don't think we're going to have that problem, and we shouldn't have that problem. So we're going to be good there. So with that being said, let's go ahead and hit apply. And let's get installed. And because I already had the image downloaded, that's why this was like lightning fast. Yours is going to take a minute, obviously, because it's going to need to pull all the images and the image parts, extract them, and then run it. But you should see this part where you have all the things you configured, and then you know, commands finish successfully. Hopefully that's what you get. All right. And then whenever you know, you're obviously installing a Docker container, it inherently starts them up right off the bat. As you can see, this is already started. And let's go ahead and get into it. Before we do, right, obviously this link is going to be in the description. All right, this is the base image that we're working with, and you should definitely look at this if there's going to be some stuff you're going to want to do. First and foremost, right, default password is going to be ABC. All right, obviously later on you're going to need to change that, so we'll do that later with the password command inside the terminal. It shows you can do it, not even going, you know, actually going into it, but we're going to wait until we're actually inside the terminal. Might as well, right? We got other stuff to do. And then of course, like if you're using Intel and AMD GPUs, they give you like some extra stuff you could do. Good freaking luck if you're going to try and use DaVinci Resolve on any of these other GPUs, because I have no idea how to help you. Okay, I don't even have any of these GPUs to even test for you. So, you know, more power to you if you decide to take on that adventure. Anyway, now going to the container, right? It's an RDP application, right? So remote desktop. This is the best you're going to get as far as like how big I can make it. I've even tried changing up settings inside the container as best I can. I can't get it any bigger than what you're about to see. So this was the best I can get. So you're going to connect to it. You're going to connect to your server. Actually, let me just hit no real quick so you can see, right? You know, like I was saying in like some other videos, guys, I'm telling you, host names go a long way. You can use IP addresses if you want. Host names go a long way. But oh yeah, and this is saved from like previously. Remember I said default is ABC, right? So let's go ahead and hit connect. All right, you'll see it, you know, initiating that, tell you like can't identify or whatever. Hit yes. And then let's go ahead, right? Boom, right? So here's like what it looks like default, right? So ABC is the username, ABC is the password. Let's go ahead. Let's go in. This should load up and boom, right? You should only see these two. This is just because, oh yeah, I should probably say that, right? Hey, this container is the stuff as far as the individual user on here is persistent. As a matter of fact, I think it even tells you on here. It tells you on here somewhere that the user profile is persistent, meaning that whenever you tear down this container and rebuild it back up, as long as it goes back to the same folders, with regards to, I think, like the user profile, like whatever you have in that user profile is going to be persistent, not the applications, just like the stuff. So like if I had photos and stuff on here, right, that's why this is still on here. But yeah, so anyway, going on to the next step, right? So we're in a container, right? What's the first thing we need to do? We need to get the DaVinci Resolve install onto this container, right? So what you would do, right, and I'm just showing you for the sake, right, is you would navigate, come on, file system, right? You would navigate to that folder that you had set up, right? So remember I said I put that in mount, production. Like I say, see, this is the only reason why this is here is from before. There shouldn't even be anything in here, I don't think. And there actually is. And let me go fix that real quick. Just remember, guys, right? Important that you know you're putting these folders exactly where you want, because container path, right? I meant to put that in here. I didn't want a separate folder outside of that. And when you make changes, actually, just to be a perfect example, see, it'll kill the container. So you stop the container, it'll remove it, it'll redo the configurations, and then it'll bring it back up. And again, right, this normally, like I said, like because it erases the container no longer exists. So any changes you made to the container are no longer present. But that persistency, right? So that persistence profile, with at least with that particular user profile, whatever files is on there are still going to be there. So let's actually go back in. So let me go right back in there, right? All right, so now let's actually go to the folder and get that DaVinci Resolve installation. So here we go, file system, excuse me, mount, production, there you go, right? Because that's how I originally wanted it. Ubuntu, and then this is where, like, you know, I would then drag my my thing, right? My thing onto the desktop, right? Which it probably would and should work on here, but if you're using the remote server, so if you're using the remote server on, you know, on wherever else, right, not on your main and raid server, you really want to copy this to your desktop first and then run these commands we're about to do. Okay, you could try to do it while it's on the remote server, but more than likely it's probably going to hang, and it's going to, like, you're going to have to like hard restart your entire server. Okay, now let's go ahead and let's get to it, right? So we are now going to go through and start installing the stuff we need in order to get DaVinci Resolve to work first. Okay, so let's open up a terminal. I just copied the commands I needed. Okay, first thing I'm going to do, because I have the installation on the desktop, I'm gonna just go ahead and just save me some time and navigate navigate to the desktop, ls, right? Okay, cool. All right, but before we even start working with it, now let's start installing some mandatory packages. Okay, starting with the NVIDIA stuff, as well as some stuff specific to DaVinci Resolve. So you know, you'll be able to grab this command from the what is it, the description, right? Video description, obviously. But damn, I was gonna say, I know it didn't just delete all that for it, right? But let's talk about it. I'm not even gonna move the mouse. All right, let's talk about it. So first and foremost, we have to add the repository that the graphics drivers are, right? So this is going to be where you're going to get the NVIDIA graphics card drivers. And as a matter of fact, I'm probably going to want to actually show you guys that first, so that way you can see some of the stuff that we had to go through in order to get this working. So I'm going to actually execute that first to add the repository. So let me clear this. Okay. Let's start with adding the repository. Okay. You'll see that, you know, actually it says, hey, you know, add repository, blah, blah, blah. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to then do apt catch and search for the NVIDIA, right? So we just added the repository, and now I'm going to do this, right? And the reason why I'm showing you guys this, right? So again, right, I want to make it clear, and I'm going to keep saying this throughout the video, right? I'm showing you all the different steps I went through in figuring this out, so that you can hopefully build from this to help you with any other challenges you have, especially if you're trying to make, for example, like AMD GPUs work or something with this matter, right? So we're going to do apt catch search NVIDIA. This is going to show us all of the NVIDIA graphics graphic card drivers, right, that are available to us. And one thing I just wanted to point out to you guys, and like I already jumped to it, right? So we've got this working on the production branch before, right? But it's recommended to use the open source drivers. I'm pointing this out because at one point, right, the stuff that I was installing was not the same driver version as what I was actually using on the server. This is fine, but a lot of times stuff fails, and that's fine too. If it fails, it will almost certainly, the application will still work, right? The files will sit there, it'll put files wherever up to a certain point, fail, and then, you know, it is what it is. Crazy, I know it sounds crazy, but that's what you needed to do. And for example, right, production branch is 550, but if you look, let me see, if I search for the encode part of the NVIDIA GPU drivers, you can see here, like, look, see, we got 565, 560, and then it goes 545. Right, there's no 550, but there is a 550 server. And the thing is that I had to figure out some of these you need as far as like the regular version. I'll just call this the regular version. And then some stuff you need to have the server version, right? As far as what I stumbled on to get it to work, it could be after a couple of updates, maybe you can do it all server, maybe you could do it all regular. But as I'm showing you right now, right, like not everything's available for each version, right? These regular ones go up, you know, 565, right? But don't have a 550, but the server version has a 550. So just, you know, so just keep that in mind, right? If you install these, if you're installing stuff or whatever it is we're installing and NVIDIA specific stuff fails, try to continue anyway and see if it'll still work. A lot of times it still does, because the only thing you just need to make sure is working is the CUDA stuff and the OpenCL stuff, which we're going to talk about in a second. So now, okay, so now getting to it, right? So we got our repository in. So now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start installing all the stuff that we need. Okay. So let me paste this command and now we'll talk about this one. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do, let me change that, right? So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run an upgrade, right? I am going to run an upgrade to update, you know, whatever packages is already pre-installed on here. Then I'm going to start installing these applications, right? A lot of this stuff is NVIDIA. Well, some of it might be NVIDIA, but other stuff is really just for DaVinci Resolve. Like, remember this, like Liber PR1, right? Util, the glib 2.0. You're going to see that later. PK exec. You depending on your setup, you might see that later, right? These are going to be things specific for DaVinci Resolve. Okay. This right here, this is really for like Intel CPUs, but the crazy thing is that I needed this in order to get OpenCL working. Without this, I couldn't get OpenCL working. Again, right? You might try to run it without it and it might work, right? I'm just telling you what I had experience at the time, because like I said, these updates, some stuff changes over time, guys. All right. Can I expand this just a wee bit more? And again, I'm sorry if it's small, guys, and there's literally nothing I can do. Or at least I tried and I just didn't feel like burning any more time on it. So, and wow, it's really not trying to let me move this anymore. What else, right? Mesa utils and client info. This is to give us extra packages in order to like test stuff, like the C client info specifically. Let us check to make sure OpenCL is enabled and accessible on this you know in the server, right? I want to say Mesa utils, I think, is what comes with the PCI utilities. I think no, the PCI utils does that. I forgot which one this comes with, but I remember installing it because I needed it, right? Pulse audio, so you can make sure you have audio working. Now, when I did this before, this wasn't naturally working. Okay, there was no audio. Now I see that there is audio, but I can't guarantee anything, right? So I'm gonna still leave this here for right now, but you might not actually need pulse audio. But pulse audio does come with other packages that DaVinci Resolve needs, so that's why I'm still included. Okay, and then of course we add VLC so that we have a video player here so we can test out some of this stuff, right? You can choose to omit this if you want, but I want to make sure we're going through everything installing. Don't just blindly install things I'm telling you to install. All right, look at each thing. All right, so let's enter. Okay, so this is doing the upgrade, and then it'll install all the other packages. We'll come back when it's all done. Just don't forget to say yes to the prompts. All right, that just finished. Now, before we even install the NVIDIA stuff, let me actually walk you guys then through how we confirm that certain stuff is working at this point. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the LSPCI. Oh, damn, I'm not even typing, right? LSPCI, right? That is going to list out all the devices physically on the server, right? So this is, you know, as far as the container is concerned, right? This is all the things that is, you know, that it can see that the server has, right? Doesn't necessarily mean it can use any of this stuff, but you know, that's what it is. And you're doing this so you can make sure that you can see the NVIDIA GPUs, right? Because this will be the first thing that'll tell you if something's wrong, right? So here you go. You can see. Here go one of the NVIDIA GPUs. There's supposed to be 3, and I think that they're probably further. Yeah, see, they're further down here. Yeah, here you go. Right, see, here go the second one, and I know the third one is like, oh yeah, is, you know, wherever this is going to be. Okay, so that we know that at least the server, right? Server sees those GPUs just fine. I think without the drivers, it might not. But you know, that's your first test to look and see, right? So now then the next thing we're going to do is let's see if we should probably already have access to NVIDIA SMI. Let's see. And we do, right? And as you can see, you see all 3 GPUs is, you know, another way that you're checking to make sure everything's working is if it's able to run this, then we are already in really good shape that it can use the NVIDIA stuff, right? That it should be able to use the NVIDIA stuff. Okay. Now, the very last thing, which is super important, is we are going to run, I think it's CLI info. Okay. And boom, right? See, this is the part I really wanted you guys to see. If you get this result, OpenCL is not working right now. Okay. It still isn't working right now. All right. So that one thing I pointed out, that OCL ICD OpenCL -dev package, I'm sorry, is a mouthful. Right. That's only part of it that we needed. We still have some NVIDIA stuff specifically that we're going to need to install. So now let's go ahead and install those. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy 2 lines and paste them in. You want to see what it looks like when you try to paste more than 1 line at a time. It'll give you a warning, say, hey, potentially unsafe paste because it's like multiple lines. I'm cool with it. All right, now let's talk about what each one is doing. Okay, so first and foremost, right, we're installing the libcuda art12, right? I believe at the time of writing this, I think CUDA 12 is like the latest version, right? This is going to enable our, container here to be able to actually use the CUDA technology in NVIDIA's GPU. Okay, we need that because without it, DaVinci Resolve won't be able to properly use the GPU. All right, then what we're going to do is we are going to purge this component here, Libre Compute 535, because for whatever reason, when you install this, it comes with this. I don't know why that does that, but you need to purge it. You need to get rid of it. Okay, so we purge that, and then we go ahead and we install Compute 560. Okay, as a matter of fact, what we're going to do is we're going to actually check and see 565. We're going to see if 565 is available. I don't think 565 is available, but we will find out. I think it was, but I'm actually, wasting my time. Let's do these ones first. Okay. And then we're going to try and see if 565 is available, right? Because see, that was at the time when I originally did this, it was record 560. Let's see if 565 is going to be available to us. So let me go ahead and just recopy that specific command, and yeah. So that's removing the other one. Okay, cool. So it purged that. Let's see if 565 is there for compute. Didn't mean to say 565. All right. Let's see. And it is. So, and it's going to go through with installing them. All right, so we'll come back to this when it's done. If this fails, right, it is fine. Okay, it's just things are still going to work as expected. I know it sounds crazy, but that's just the unfortunate reality of how things are. Yeah, so, and as you can see, it failed. And this is fine. Okay, I'm telling you, this is perfectly fine. If you want, you can run 560. I think 560 might actually let you install without failing. But like I said, it's important I give you guys a full experience of what I went through to get this working. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're now going to install this encode 565 server version here. So, all right, I'm going to need to download that too. So let's it's just about finishing here. And look, see, and that one installed without a problem. All right, awesome. So now let's go ahead and go to the next step. So all of the NVIDIA stuff is now installed. So let's now try that CLI info again. And look, see, as you can see, right, the OpenCL, right, OpenCL works now, right? You get all this cool little output. Nice. All right, now let's actually talk about what we need to do next, right? So if you remember, right, I'm just gonna kind of recap, right? We went to our remote folder, which you need to remember wherever if you put it wherever you put it, right? Where we copied the setup file, right, onto the desktop, and now what we're going to do is we're going to extract it. So first thing we're going to do is let's navigate to the desktop. Okay, And there we go, right? We see that it's right there. Okay, so now we're going to extract it, and then we're going to make some edits and whatnot to the installation file itself. So first thing I'm gonna do is let me go ahead and paste this and walk out through what this command's doing. All right, so /DaVinci Resolve. So / right is Linux way of saying that we're about to execute this particular program. Without the /, it doesn't know to execute this program. Okay, so one of the nice things, right, of course, you know, with your autocorrect, or you know, your auto completion, excuse me, right, is that even though I got all these other things here, I can still auto complete this if I put my cursor right here, hit the tab button, and boom, right? So we're going to run this file, right, and then we're going to use an extra flag called app image extract, right? And what that does is that just simply excuse me, that just simply guts the application, right? It puts it in a folder where you can access all the stuff inside of it, right? Which is why we then, you know, and into this next command here, which is where we go into that folder. It's going to make a squash fs-root folder that we're going to go into, and then inside of that we're going to run the /, we're going to run the app run, which is like basically the setup executable for the DaVinci Resolve. Okay, and there is stuff that we could do before that so that it works, but I want you guys to see this so that way you you know, you're learning all of the steps that, you know, you got to go through to get this to work out the gate, and hopefully this helps you later on down the line in trying to get something else to work. All right, so we'll come back to this once it starts running the application. All right, it just finished, and as you can see, right, if you look, right, it's complaining that, hey, there's some packages missing here, which is these. Now, if you remember, right, I don't know if you remember, but like in that command, in the install command, when we was installing all those packages, I pointed it out, right? You see, we already have these in here. These are already installed. And then there's like, and then this one here, this one doesn't even exist. It exists in other packages. And if you try to install some of those other packages, they remove other things, which is why Pulse Audio was our replacement. But you see, so that's the first problem we're having. Okay, so let's go ahead and okay that. And now let's go ahead and navigate into that folder. So now what you need to do is you need to go inside that install folder, find the app run. You're going to go in here, right? And then what you're going to do is, hell, it already navigated for me. Look at that. Okay. You're going to scroll down. You can Control F, right? Control F and find these applications here, and you need to remove them from underneath the Ubuntu section, right? There's other sections here for like other operating systems. You need to make sure you're under the Ubuntu function, and you're going to remove these applications. Luckily, like, see, they're right here, like the first three right out the gate. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete these, right? That's those first three. And then we got libglib2, right? This one's got to go. So that one's deleted. And that should be it. So now we're gonna go ahead and Control S so we can save it. Let's close this. And let's now try to run that application again, right? As you see, we're already in the squash root folder, so we're going to run it, right? And again, right, this is also going to give us a problem, but I just want you guys to see it, right? So we're going to try and run it, and we're going to go ahead and hit next, right? Go down, hit next, you know, agree, next, right? And then show details. Okay, look. When you install this, or when you attempt to install this, there was another error you get where there's another, it will give you an authority issue. If it gives you an authority issue, I think it's a PK exec. What I should have did is, let me just open up another term just so you guys can kind of just see what I'm typing right now. It's the best you're gonna get right now, right? It's this package right here, right? So PK exec, right? Let me go like that. There we go, right? All right. If you see this word in here, right, that means you don't have this package installed. But if you was following like our commands and stuff, right? Because in case if you was like gutting out stuff that you didn't think you need anyone to test it out, if you see that this is one of the things that needs to be installed as well. So you just app install that. You would have already done it at this point if you was following along. But that's that. But if you see here too, the other error you're going to get is you're also going to get an authority error as well, right? So for this authority error, error, the only way we're going to get around this is by doing the next thing that you technically shouldn't have to do, which is sudo. You'll see a lot of DaVinci Resolve posts that says that DaVinci Resolve is not meant to install as sudo, but this is the only way we was able to get it to work. So now I'm gonna do this again. Sudo app run, right? Go here, next, show detailed log, and bam. As you can see, it's working and it's installing without a problem. So once this is done, which it should be relatively quick, you know, depending on your system. All right. Now what we're going to do is we are going to do a couple of things. But before I do that, let's actually walk through some of the errors that you would see if you was to try to run this out the gate. And it's, you know, this takes, I guess this, you know, still takes a bit, but it's almost there. It's almost there. It's getting there. All right, and it just finished. So let's go ahead and let's go through, right? So obviously we got this app right here. We could sit there, click it, and it would run and it would do all the things that we were trying to do anyway. But I want to have the terminal so that way I can actually kind of track some of the errors, right? So where does DaVinci Resolve installs? It installs here. If you go to it's root /opt /resolve is where it installs. Okay. And then what you want to do is in the bin folder is where you would actually is where the actual like running thing is at, right? So I do that /resolve from here, I'll run it. And I'm just doing it from here because I just want to capture the terminal stuff. All right. So let's go in here. And as you can see, right, it complains, it says that there's a symbol lookup error, right? It has some problem. What that is that there's like files or lib files in here that are, I guess, I don't want to say depreciated, but they're causing problems and you have to actually remove them. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and remove them. So if you, again, right, you know, get it in the link in the description, video description, right? We're going to first navigate. So here's the list of commands we're doing. First thing we're doing is we're navigating to the libs folder inside DaVinci Resolve. We're going to make a folder that we're going to put like some of these files in. And then what we're going to do is we're going to move all of these files, right? And obviously this, you know, this is the name of the file, and then the star is the wild card, right? That means that any file with this name that has this, you know, that starts off with this, with the libglib, and you know, anything after that, right? Any file starts with this, has like anything else that goes after that, include it, put it in this disabled libraries folder. Okay, and that's what we do for all these other things. So let's go ahead and hit enter. And as you can see, right, if I ls, oops, and then we can do that. Let me just, if I just cd the disabled libraries, right, ls, right, and you see, boom, right, those are all the files that it moved out of there. So now if we go ahead and we navigate back to, so I gotta do, what is it, // bin. Right, that should take me back to the bin folder in it. Yep. All right, cool. And then what we're going to do is we're going to run resolve again. And if you look, now you see we're getting completely different output. And there we go. We got DaVinci Resolve. But it's not quite over just yet. Okay. Oh, look, see, even still has my old project from before. See, that's what I'm saying. But let's we'll just rock a new project for right now. As you can see, we're in, and you know, we can still see because some of my setup stuff. All right. Just real quick. All right. Let me actually put this back because it would have been like this. Okay. Real quick. If you didn't even get to this part, one thing you do have to do is you have to create a user, which we're still going to create a user on here. I'm going to show you that in just a moment. But sometimes this works right out the gate just like this. If it doesn't work, you have to create a new user, and then you're going to log into that user and then try to run DaVinci Resolve, and then this should work without a problem. And then sometimes even after that, right, you'll do that and you can come back then to the ABC profile and run DaVinci Resolve, and then then starts working. I don't know why it does this. Yeah, I couldn't tell you, right? That's just the wild west of Linux, wild west of Linux, I guess. So anyway, this is what it would naturally look like. It's going to, you know, use whatever graphics card it decides. And yeah, so what we did was we added our media folder in here, just for convenience, because it's going to be important for later when we need to do our remote jobs. Because remember the rule with DaVinci Resolve for remote jobs, right? Your remote computers have to have access to the project files as well as the destination that your project is producing videos into, right? They all need to be able to access the same thing. And I want to say map mounts. I haven't tested it as far as Linux is concerned quite yet, but my understanding is map mounts is how you kind of translate it. So like when you give this, like v slash, let's say output, right? That's how you translate that photo location to here, I think, right? We'll find out later, but that's what I did, right? So here we go, right? So let's test this out now. Now, here's the thing, right? Out the gate, not everything works, which is going to specifically be, I wish it wasn't freezing here, right? Is this video output thing. Now, crazy thing is that even though this video output does not work, I'll give you a perfect example, because if I go here and I change this color to green, all right, I changed the color to green. As you can see, it's not showing anything. Okay, let me do one for blue real fast. Okay, so you can guess to see, right? You see that I'm playing it and it's not. Come on, I was gonna say, I don't know why it was freezing up on me like that. As you can see, right, it's not nothing's coming up on here, but it works, right? So as long as the as long as you're using compatible files and stuff, which we're going to get into in a second, it still works. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to grab my some of the files I have so I can kind of just give you guys an example, right? Because it's going to be important you see these. Okay, so I'm gonna sit here and let me grab a music file real quick. We have, come on, I'm sorry, my system is lagging terribly right now, and it's not the server, it's my desktop computer. My desktop computer is giving me issues and it's impacting my experience. So let me come on, can I, as you can, just to kind of show you guys, right, everything is working. Oops, I did not mean to do that. Control Z, yeah, there we go, right? All of it's still working. And then I'm gonna, let me cut this bad boy. Ripple delete. I'm sorry, I just delete select. I don't need a ripple right now. All right, so if I play this, right, we should still be able to hear it. So let's go ahead and play. Should still hear some of the music, and like I said, my systems is going crazy slow right now. All right, yep, I'm sure you guys hear that. So let's go ahead and deliver. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just go ahead, I'm gonna do a quick deliver here. I'm gonna just, let me just do like MPEG, I guess. Yeah, let's just do MPEG, and let's just like pray that this works without a problem. What I want to do too, so that way I don't get confused, is let's open up that media folder that we were talking about on the computer itself, right? And let me just nuke all of these here, so that way we won't get confused, right? Boom. All right, let's go ahead and test it. Test, we'll just call it a test, right? I'm going to put it right there in that media folder. This is kind of how I want it. I just wanted to be fast, so let me just get 720 real quick, add that to the render queue, and then let's render, and let's see, should be like instantaneous. Boom, right? Done. If you're using a remote server, right, this is the part where you'll potentially like kill your Unraid server, right? Because it might just freeze up right here, and then your whole Unraid server doesn't work. That was the experience I was having. Like I said before, I didn't have that experience, and now with the current update, I currently am. All right, so if you see here, you see it popped up. Let's let me open it up on my Windows system here, and we should see the video thing, comes up and everything. See, yeah. All right, so now let's talk about all right, so now let's talk about some file compatibility. Okay, so This is the free version of DaVinci Resolve, okay? So the free version of the DaVinci Resolve cannot use multiple GPUs. That's why you only see one check mark, okay? It also is really restricted on the file types it supports, right? You can't play, I think it's like H.264 and 265 video formatted files or something like that, and a few others. I want to say DaVinci Resolve has, I think if you just Google it, I think if you do like DaVinci Resolve Linux file type support, I think you'll get the list. If I yeah, go like see formats and codecs, right? So let me click on here. And yeah, Rocky Linux, right? So boom, right here go Rocky Linux, right? As you can see, right? So what it can decode and what it can encode, and as you can see, there's gaps here, and some of these is for studio only. So see H264 for the MOV, MKV, and MP4, right? Only studio can open those, so it's not gonna work. So I want to say, hopefully, right? I want to say that anything that you can encode or that you can produce in DaVinci Resolve should work pulling back in here, right? And the reason why I make that caveat, right, is because now let's go back to our little folder here, file manager. I'm going to start with those test files I have. So if I go here, mount, remember, this is the free version of DaVinci Resolve. We're going to do this again with the paid version. Okay. You see here, I have 4 different files, right? An AVI, MKV, MOV, and MP4 type, right? And if I sit here and I drag them all here, only 2 actually even connected. And of those 2, neither one of them is actually decodable. Right. So that's just something you need to keep in mind, is that like Linux is not like Windows. OK, Linux is certainly not like Windows, and it doesn't work. And, you know, I could place a video on the timeline. You won't hear the audio. And then if you produce it, it's not like the video part magically appears. OK, that's the one thing. But now let's actually, I don't know why I closed that. Let's actually now add that video we just made. Okay, so that test MOV, if I go here, look, see, you can even see it. See, you can even see it in the timeline, and boom, right? As you can see, it comes up, but you see the application doesn't actually show anything. So now let's talk about what I just literally found out. I was able to fix this, I want to say maybe an hour ago. So after 2.5 months, I'm still learning to like try and get this fixed, because at first I would have told you guys you're kind of hold. You're just gonna have to like kind of deal with it. Like I said, I'm only using this for render jobs, so it's not like I'm editing on here. So like I said, as long as you're just using compatible files that they can see and work with, you should have been fine. But let's go ahead. So let me go ahead and quit. I won't save the project because that's what I got the other test for. Okay, now let's talk about the, let's create the user first, and then we're going to talk about that command. So just real quick, just so you guys know, right? The command for creating a user here for, you know, Ubuntu, is slightly different here on some stuff we're going to need to do first before we do it. So I'm going to paste these multiple commands again and talk about them. All right, so first and foremost, we're going to navigate to the home directory, right? Root home directory. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add the user. Like I say, you can name the person, whatever, right? What we're going to do is, that's specific here, is that we need to copy this file, right? Which is at the, I guess like the, whatever is like the default home directory that the tilde gets you, right? We need to copy this into the home directory of that new user we did. If you do not copy this, it's not supposed to work. It's not supposed to, right? Like I said, anything can change. And then after that, then we actually then make a password for that user. So let's do that. Boom. Now it's going to ask me for a password. So I'm going to just give it something, give it real quick, right? Let's say I'm doing this part for you guys that might have gotten stuck on getting DaVinci to open up. Create a new user, sign into that user, and then run DaVinci Resolve. All right. Okay, cool. We did that. Let's go ahead and let's change our current user password while we're at it, right? So remember, right? You need is ABC, right? ABC is the default password, and then change it into whatever it is you're going to actually use. All right, cool. Oh, I'm sorry. I need to. Was tripping, right? Yep. See, I'm sitting there tripping. My bad. Let me do that one more time here. All right, right. So we changed the password, and now let's actually talk about the command we need to do. Okay, you guys are going to have your minds blown. Oh, by the way, I forgot one more thing you have to do too is that new user, you still have to add that user to the sudo group. Now, I don't know if now it's required. I just know when I tried this before, it was. So add that user to the, you can maybe log into that user, try to open DaVinci Resolve and see if it works. If it doesn't work, try to make the user sudo, then try again, or come back, try to run it DaVinci back in on this profile. And if it doesn't work, then make this other user sudo and then do it again. I'm telling you guys, right? As convoluted as all this is, I promise you, this is after like 2 months of like stressing my life out. All right. Now let's get to the meat potatoes, right? In case you guys were kind of stuck on this. All right. Now, what you need to do in order to get DaVinci Resolve to show stuff on the timeline, okay, the video playback or whatever, is you have to run this. Okay, there's two like variables you are setting. Okay, I want to say, now that I think about it, I want to say that you could potentially, Jesus Christ, oh, it's over here. I want to say that you might be able to actually inherently set those inside the container. Now that I think about it, like I said, I just found this out like literally an hour ago, and this is after 2 months of working on this and an hour later, right? I want to say, I think it's like right here, right? Isn't it? Let me see. Do I do variable, right? Yeah, right. Key value pairs, right? So, I'm gonna try this later, and then if it works, it'll be default in my in the container that I provide for people to just download. But you might actually be able to just get away with putting them in here. The way you would do it, you can test this out yourself. I'm not going to test it out now. I'm so tired of this. All right, it's 2 a.m. All right, the way you would do this is you would shoot. Come back. I'll close that. Right. So you would do it's a key value pair. I don't know. Can I close this window? Okay, it's a key value pair. So this would be the key, this underscore NVIDIA blah blah blah, right? That's the key. And then the 1 is the value. Okay, so you would put it in just like that, key value, and then you add that, and maybe that might work. I don't know if like by setting that value that makes all the applications default to that, or whatever. Like I say, you know, that's you might need to test that out. But anyway, have this here and then run Resolve, and then it should work. Obviously this part is not going to work as it is at the moment because I'm not actually in that folder. So let's navigate. We're going to need to navigate back to where Resolve is installed, right? Which you remember is here. Okay, now let's run that. So if I go here, hit enter, as you see, DaVinci Resolve comes right on up. And what we're going to do is, this one should probably complain that some project files are missing. Yeah, see? But as you can see, right, it actually shows up, right? So if I move this back over here, there we go. Look at that. See, it comes right back up. And there you go, right? We now have DaVinci Resolve fully up and running. So now what I'm going to do is, I don't want to do that. Now what I'm going to do is, let me just go ahead and quit. All right, so now let's talk about this right here, right? So what we need to do is let's edit this launcher. And if you see, this is the command here that it has, right? So what we're going to need to do is what you you're going to need to create a script. Okay. And like I said, we're going to make the shortcut work, but we need to make a new script. So I'm gonna just call this one something like run resolve. All right. So run resolve.sh. All right. Let's go in here. Right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to now take those variables, right, and then I am going to put them in this script. In the script, you don't have to do the dot slash. So what we just need to do is we need to just actually just target the where the thing gets executed at, right? So slash opt slash resolve slash bin slash resolve, right, which is already there. Okay, boom, right, and that should work. So I'm gonna save that. Control S to save. Let me close it. And then what I need to do is you need to go in the terminal, because remember, when you make these scripts, they're not you can't execute them out the bat, right? So you got to change the permission on them. So let's cd to the desktop ls, but you need to also add the flags. I usually do like lrt or something. I don't even know if the T is even valid. But if you look here, you'll see that there's no X, which is the executable thing, right? So what we're going to do now is we're going to chmod, right, which is the command to change the permissions, just your famous 777, like your slot casinos, and we are going to run resolve sh. All right, cool. See, that went through. So if I go back to it again, and boom, as you can see, it's all executable. And there we go. All right, so now it's ready. So now what we're going to do is let's see if we can just now just target it. So if I go here on the desktop and I do run sh, hit that, hit apply. I'm gonna keep the running terminal thing check just so I can see it. Let me close this terminal. Now let's try and do it again. Let's see. And boom, see, now it actually comes up. And like I said, those variables is already in there. So like, grab that from the description. And as you can see, it's all of it still works as intended. So we're up, guys. We are up. All right, now real quick, now for you guys that need to do the other user thing, fair warning, when you go into the other user, it's like really watered down, restricted, or like it's just not set up like this one. Like even something as simple as just like tabbing to do the auto correction. So like this doesn't work over there. Like you have to type everything manually, and it's just a mess. But everything else that I just showed you guys, right, if you just do it just like that, it should work on that other user. And then like I said, maybe you could try when you create the user, come back and then just see if ABC just straight up works. Or if you want to fix up that other user to get it to work, more power to you. But all right, so at this point you have just created from scratch, which is important in case you want to do a new update or whatever, a fully working DaVinci Resolve inside a container, a Docker container on your Unraid server, right? Pat yourselves on the back. We've just overcome some really hard, perilous things. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just real quick, I'm going to delete these install files, and then what we're going to do is we are going to, as a matter of fact, can I go to my home folder here? Yeah, let's actually, we're going to go ahead and nuke these because I don't need these anymore. And we're going to start now preparing to make our container, right? So what we're about to do is we're about to make a container, a backup of this container, so that if things go wrong, you can rebuild this container and it will be back into the exact same state it is right here. This will be the state that it's going to be in. All right. So I'm just making sure I delete it, whatever extra stuff I didn't want. Let's go ahead and let's delete that folder. Let's delete the executable, and all we need to leave is just, obviously the shortcuts and the scripts. Okay. And then we need to actually delete the bin or the trash box. I don't know where exactly it is from here. You would have think they would have like had it. But what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just jump in the terminal. If I recall correctly, I believe it's in, there's a cd dot, I think local is what it is. Let me see. Yeah. And then it's share. And then I believe capital T for trash, right? Yeah. boom, right? And then if I go here, let's what is it, CD files, right? CD files. And then if I look inside here, yeah, see they're all in here. So let's let me just rm dash, I think it's rf is what I need to do. And I don't know if that does it for all of them. If I just execute it in that directory, yeah, see, that's what I thought. Rm, that'd be a little bit dangerous in my opinion. But anyway, let's do that. Okay, so let's go for that one. The run resolve, the DaVinci, the squash folder, and that should be it, right? So now if I hit enter, now if I ls again, all right, and it's nice and clear. Okay, cool. All right, so everything's cleared, everything is set. Like we're now like in our little, like our default state. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, let's log out, and we are now going to run through backing up this container. Now what you're going to have to do is you are going to have to, let me go here on the dashboard real quick. All right, let me go ahead and stop it, and then I'm going to open up the terminal. Okay, now you don't need to do this part if you don't want to, but what we're about to do now is I'm going to show you guys two separate ways you can go about backing up this container, so that if the worst happens and you need to like pick back up from scratch, you don't have to start all the way from ground zero, right? You literally could just reinstall your Docker image and it'll have the application already installed and all of that. All right, so what I'm going to do is first let's make sure that the Docker stopped it. Okay, cool, it did stop it. Now we are, come on mouse, stop fighting me. All right, oh, I got a bunch of these open. Let's close some of these bad boys. All right, cool. All right, so now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to run this command called docker commit. So we're going to invoke docker commit. All right, so what this is commit is what's going to create the Docker container image. So the first thing we need to do is we need to give it the current image that we're using, right? So this is going to be after you made all the changes that you want to make, right? So we installed the application, did the updates, whatever it is, you put the whatever files you're going to have in there, right? All handy dandy, right? So Docker commit, give it the name of the container, which, whoa, stop it. All right, I think it's I'm a triple check, right? Did I actually adhere to, I adhered to the culture. All right, so DaVinci Resolve, and where's my, come on, where did my little thing go? All right, here we go. Right, DaVinci Resolve, and now you're going to name it. Now you're going to name it whatever it is you're going to call it. Which in my case, I'm going to give it the name. As a matter of fact, I don't think Docker images are allowed to be any case or uppercase. So I'm gonna just say this: Docker dash DaVinci Resolve. Okay, and before I even execute that command, let's jump over here to Docker. Let me go in an advanced view. All right, over here would show you what they called orphan images, which is basically any Docker container image that isn't actually actively being used. We don't see anything like that here, but the moment we run this command, I believe we should. So let's see, which is a good thing, right? That means it shows that it was created, and it's available for use by the system. So let's go ahead and let's do that. So this will probably take a minute. Let me actually jump here to the dashboard too, so we can see if there's any activity on our CPU here, which tiny bit here and there. There's nothing. It's not like we got anything crazy, like just mostly from scratch. So Yeah, so this is probably going to take a bit. So let's come back to it, or I'm going to restart the recording once I actually start seeing activities, just so you guys can kind of just like follow along. All right, it just finished. So it created the image. Let me see. I wonder if it comes. Yeah, see, boom. As you can see, it is an orphan image, so we know it worked. It just created it, and that already is just like just about it right there. Like, we just basically made a snapshot of this container as we have it, so that if we was to destroy this and then rebuild it but use the actual container, which I'll show you guys how to do that later on in the video, right? We'll sign in and you'll see that we're right back to where we were with DaVinci Resolve already being up and going, everything installed, all that good stuff, right? So next thing we need to do is recommended part is to tag it. So if we do docker tag, and then I give it the name of the thing we have here, of the container that we just made. Can I just paste, right? Okay, then we're going to give it a tag, which I'm going to say this is I forgot what is the thing. Oh yeah, it's literally just a semicolon. Yeah, I was right, colon, and then I'm gonna do 01, right, to show that this is. Can I do 0.1? All right, hopefully I can do 0.1. Let's see. Okay, yeah, see, it just went through without a problem. All right, so now that we have it tagged, we're actually done at this point, right? I want to say, can I go back to the thing right here, right? So yeah, see, as you can see, we have latest, and then we have like that tag, which is that first tag we made. All right, we could now actually destroy this and rebuild it using that image. And what you're probably going to want to know is where this image is actually particularly installed. Okay, I had to stop for a second to do like some quick research to make sure I knew what I was looking for. So when you create your containers, they're going to be let me click back in settings. All right, so they're actually going to be in that docker image file, right? So this right here, if you just look at docker.image, apparently inside of here is where all of the images and stuff are actually like stored in. So that's where that's at. So like, if you want to obviously back up your container that you just created, then you'd have to like back up that image file, which can get like fairly large, I suppose. But now we're approaching the meat and potatoes of this video here, which is we're going to remove the DaVinci Resolve. We're going to also remove that image, right, that we had downloaded with it, just so that you guys can see that we are indeed we're indeed creating like one from scratch. So I'm actually kind of scared because the one thing that you're not going to have is going to be the configuration files. So what I'm going to do is real quick, I'm going to just open this up real fast just so that I have this. And then we're going to go ahead now and let's go ahead and nuke it. So let's delete it. It is in use by other containers. What is it? What does it mean? I don't know why it did that, but see, this is still here. So let's go ahead and remove this. Oh, you know what? It won't delete it because that's right. I forgot about this part, right? Because we used this image to build this, right? So I believe we can't actually delete it. So now if I sit here and I go ahead and I create a new container, right? Oh, that's right, it still keeps the templates that we had. Oh, that's perfect, right? So boom, right, we have the template that has like all of the stuff that we just had. Let me make sure that this is still correct, right? Mount production, mount user, all that's still correct. So make sure you still double check your settings here. But then this is the part we need to change, right? So let me go here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab our container, right, the custom container we just made, and I'm going to feed it into here. Okay, I'm gonna feed it into here. And can I edit this? Oh, I gotta go to advanced. Okay, yeah, boom, right. So I'll edit all this later. We'll do that in the video next time, or outside the video, but everything else is still how I need it. Let's go ahead and hit apply. And it did so successfully. So let me go ahead and hit done. Okay, all that looks good. So dashboard, I'm gonna come here and it's already started. All right, now let's go ahead, moment of truth, right? Which, if you remember, right, when we originally installed the Ubuntu image, we was given the Ubuntu Linux without the application installed. So we know this worked if when we come right back in here. So first and foremost, right, we know ABC. I'm gonna even try, right? If I say ABC and it says login failed, all right, that's already our sign there that it indeed changed. So ABC, and then let me do the password that I gave it. Which reminds me, you're gonna real quick, you're gonna see me actually change it back because I forgot I'm about to upload it for public use. So let me, actually, you know what? I'm gonna just nuke it. I'm gonna just do this once again from scratch and then upload that for public use. Okay, which I'll show you guys in a little bit. But yeah, here we are, right? And as you can see, right, we remember, it's still persistent, right? But the application, right, the application isn't supposed to be there. And I can just really quick, one way I could just like triple check that. First off, icon is still here with the actual image, so that's that's already letting us know that, yeah, like everything is still there. If I go to OPT, see, Resolve is still there, so the application is still installed. And so we can probably just click this. Right, I set up, it's all working. Let me tell you guys, right, because if it wasn't persistent, if I was to try to, if I use that other image, for example, the original one, right, Resolve isn't installed on here, so therefore it wouldn't have worked. And yeah, as you can see, it's all still there and it all still works. Excuse me, I am tired, and that's because it's almost 3 in the morning now. Yes. So we're done here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to install the studio version over this, but we're going to have to do this later on today, right? Because it definitely isn't going to be right now because I need to sleep and go to work. So when we come back, we will do the studio version. Make sure the studio version works. In my mind, it's supposed to. All right, guys, we are now back. So let us now talk about getting DaVinci Resolve Studio now installed, right? Up to this point, we just did DaVinci Resolve, right? And now we're going to do DaVinci Resolve Studio. Now, of course, right, you should have your product key ready. What I am hoping to be able to do is that I'm going to have this uploaded obviously before activation, so that way all you have to do is just download, then you can activate with your key, and then you can hopefully back up your images so you don't have to go through the hassle of having to reactivate if something goes wrong, because then you can just restore your image and then you can go from there. That's the only reason why I have this made the way it is, because after I made the original DaVinci Resolve exactly how I wanted it, I basically made a commit image, saved it, and then I made a duplicate Resolve Studio, which is what we're going to use to then install the studio version. And then I'm going to make a copy of that obviously prior to the activation, which will then allow us to preserve that section, or preserve that image, which I'll keep on the side for when I need to do like updates or fixes or whatever to like the main image. So with that being said, let's get started. Just a recap, make sure you're going to DaVinci Resolve Support Center, right, which is this over here, and then you are scrolling down to DaVinci Resolve Studio, hitting Linux, right, and then hitting download only, so that you can just grab your, or if you got your stuff, obviously like fill that out. But all right, so now let's go ahead and get started. So I'm gonna get our handy dandy remote desktop application here. Let me move that on over to the other monitor. If I could just get my mouse here, there we go. All right. And then remember what I said, guys, about the user thing, right? the other user, sometimes it might not be required for you to make another user. So, just make sure to test that out. Otherwise, do what you got to do. But remember, default login, right? And default username, ABC. So let's go ahead, and as you see, it brought us in, and I am realizing that we don't have the script, the little DaVinci Resolve script that I just made, right? So I'll need to kind of keep that in mind for future reference to figure out how I'm gonna just get that to just stick. But which is fine for right now, right? Because we will make our thingamabob later. But for now, let's go ahead and recreate our script. So if you remember, right, we needed to make a custom script in order to get the video portion to actually work. So I'm just going to do DaVinci Resolve fix. Oh yeah, then I need to make it the script, right? So .sh. Let's go ahead and do that. Bring it on in. And then what I need to do is I need to go ahead and I need to jump back on over to my computer here. All right, and then what I just need to do is I need to re-put those variables, right? And then the location resolve is installed on, which is /opt/resolve is the folder. And then we need to target the bin folder, and then obviously the command resolve, which should do that. We're going to save that, and that'll be for later, right? Because I said we're about to go through the whole installation process, so I'm not going to bore you guys with that. Just remember what we did earlier, right? All we're simply going to do is we're going to first go to our little remote folder, right? We're going to now grab the studio version of DaVinci Resolve, and then we're literally going to go through the exact same setup process we did with the regular Resolve, and that will get the studio version on here. Because if you remember, right, as soon as this is done here, come on, there we go. All right, if you remember, right, we have Resolve installed on here, so it should simply just install over it. We will still need to remove those those bad libraries, right? You're still going to need to remove those bad libraries, so don't forget to do that. But everything else is literally the exact same. So let's go ahead and knock that out. All right, at the part now where we're just installing Studio over Resolve. Just remember again, right, you need to go into the squash that folder, the root folder, right, and then edit that app run to remove those packages that we discussed before. And as you're gonna see here, we're gonna reinstall DaVinci Resolve Studio. So that's because we have the regular Resolve already installed, and so we're just gonna simply install over it. I will check everything on here. Be sure to read these. You're supposed to. All right, show the detail log. Let's start the installation. Remember, I ran this as sudo, and this should take but a moment. And while that's going on, let me just be prepared to remove those bad libraries. So what we're going to do now is actually jump and make sure that folder is the same. I want to say go back. I want to say it should be the same like Resolve folder. It's not like they say like Resolve Studio or something. It looks like it. And then yeah, see, we got our little installation icon back. All right, so as soon as that's done, we'll execute those commands again, right, where we're dumping or moving those bad libraries, and that'll be that. Then we'll go ahead and crank it open. All right, that finished installing, so we can go ahead and hit finish. And so now let's go ahead and, like I said before, right, we're going to remove all those bad libraries. So I'm going to go ahead and repaste that command there. And well, we already got the folder up over here, so let's just check real quick because I didn't mean to press that, or these little characters over here. Yep, disable libraries and boom, right, all there. All right, so now this is done. So this should now work. We do have one more thing, right? So I need to come over here now to the shortcut, and remember, we still gotta like make it link to that script we made, right? So I'm gonna come here, I'm gonna go to command, open this up, go to desktop, click that script, hit open, do that. I do like to have it in the terminal. That's just me. And then that's it. It's done. So what I'm gonna do real quick now is I'm gonna go ahead and commit this this as a new image, so that way I can have you know, this separate, so that way if ever I need to like push updates or do things, I'll be able to fix it, because I need to figure out how to get these icons to be you know, persistent, which now that I think about it, I might just be able to here. I think what we're going to do is we'll just copy these like inside of that resolve folder. That seems like that might be the best way to go about it, because I want to say your desktop, because your desktop is linked to you know, whatever folder you make on your Unraid server. It might be a bit challenging for me to get that to be, you know, that make that come with the container. So what I'm just going to do is, where is thy resolve? Oh, sorry, OPT. I need OPT. Here we go. Yeah, resolve. And okay, and I think if we just go ahead and we paste this here. Yep, and then that way what I'll just instruct is I'll just instruct you guys to you know, obviously just copy, right? You know, you just grab them and then copy them on your desktop and you should be good. So yeah, that'll work. So let me go ahead now and let's trash what we don't need, which is those two, and of course then I need to just dump them from the trash can, right? So I'm gonna just go ahead cd .local, I think it's share right, and then capital T for trash, then files, right? They should be there. Then I'm rm dash R for recursive for the directory, and F to force it, since these are write protected. So let's do DaVinci Resolve and then get the squash root, and bam. All right, it's ready for me to make the commit, and then what we'll do is we will you know, activate our DaVinci Resolve and be done. Been a long time coming. All right, we're now approaching the end game here. So I made my my like backup of that Resolve Studio setup there, so that way I have a copy for me to just make updates and changes and stuff. Let's get back into our main container now. All right, where we are going to go ahead and activate our DaVinci Resolve Studio. So go ahead and have your keys ready, right? And let's go ahead and get started. So I'm gonna just go here and let me, oh, what is this? Permission denied. Oh, I know why that's like that. That is just simply because, silly me, I forgot to change the whoops, the permissions on the file, right? So when you create a script, you know, it's chmod. No, you gotta make, well, let me just, I guess I'll just show you guys real quick too what that look like. ls dash, let's just do this, right? So because I'm sure I mentioned this probably like earlier in the video, right? But you see that, right? Because that's only read and write. There's no X's, so there's no executing, right? And so like easiest thing that, you know, most people just simply do is just you know, chmod 777, which is basically giving it the full rewrite and executable permissions for everybody, right? User groups, all that good stuff. So we'll do that, and we are going to do that on the script, and there you go, right? You see, there you go. All right, so now let's go ahead and run our boy here. Okay, so I'm going to continue. Skip all that right now. And here we go, right? Use license key. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pause this real quick so that way I can throw in my license key, activate my DaVinci Resolve, and then we can play around with to make sure that everything works as intended. All right, I put my key in and it said activation was successful. So let me do that. And here we go. There are more neural engines, blah, blah, blah. So let's go ahead and optimize. Let's go ahead and let her optimize, and we'll see what happens. I want to move this over here real quick just so I can kind of just peek at the GPUs, see what the GPUs got going on. I know GPU 3 is primarily being used like to render the desktop and stuff, so that's probably why it's like actually working. But everything else looks pretty good, I suppose. All right. This is probably gonna take a bit, so we're gonna watch a show and we'll come back when this is done. Can I actually use it? Yeah, I didn't think so. All right. Yeah, we'll come back when this is done. All right, so we're gonna have to I think this might take a day, maybe. Well, not like a full day, but like it's already almost 2 in the morning, and I want to say like what, like maybe roughly about 10 minutes or like approaching 10 minutes have passed, and it just got to 3. I want to say that first one was like probably the longest and went from 2 to 3 seemingly quickly. But clearly we're going to have to come back to this. So I'm gonna go ahead and kill a video, and we'll be back when this is done. It look like it's picking up. If it picks up by before like 2:10, then we'll just finish this off, because this is the last part right here, right? And then we can confirm that everything works, and we should be good. So all right, since we're like nearly done, I'm going ahead and jumping at my lunchtime to go ahead and wrap this up. So that the optimizations, right, that finished, that took I want to say it was quite a bit of time. It didn't take too long, but in case of like yours is taking like incredibly long, like just to go from like 1 to 2 all right, that's totally fine. It'll eventually make its way through, which it did. After that, then they pick up a little bit of speed. But as you see, we have our DaVinci Resolve Studio up and running. So let's go ahead, let's throw it up. All right, and everything should still be working like how we had it before. So I think the what's it face here, the little display thing, oh yeah, see, see, it's already coming up, so I ain't even gotta really mess with it. And then of course, like I said, you know, the studio version allows you to use multiple GPUs. So as you can see here, my everything here is in full use. And I want to say that what, oh yeah, and then like now we have access to like the actual formats that we would like to actually be able to use. So everything looks good. I'm just kind of curious now. I am going to, for the sake of just trying, let us try to like up render. I just want to really make sure it works. All right, let me try to like forcibly upscale like one of those videos to 8K and see what happens. Okay, so I got my mount production here. Probably gonna need to go back to, why is that in the way? All right, there we go. All right, and which was my original one? I want to say it was before. I think it was before. Yeah, that's fine. Just change it. Okay. Better yet, let's go ahead and come here. Like I said, this is just me just like trying to really make sure everything's working like it should. So I just want to do 60 frames just because I can. Yeah, you see, it looks good. Everything seems to be working. It's pretty, as far as I can tell, pretty snappy. Next thing I just want to do is I'm going to change the timeline setting. I'm going to force this bad boy to 8K just because I can. Say okay, like that. Oh, and then I believe, if I recall correctly, doesn't DaVinci have like a An upscaler thingamabob. Yeah, super scale. Sure, let's just do that. I guess we'll do by 4, right? I'm just trying to really see how she work here, and then I do need to re-add the media folder here. So let's go ahead, jump to that. We're at mount, action, media. All right, get that. I'll worry about the mounts later. So like I said, you know, in the upcoming video, we're going to get the the network rendering stuff up and going, which I'm pretty sure is going to require these map mounts. But here we go. Right, so let's go ahead, throw that as a test there. Let's do H265. Right, that's a little bit, I want to say it's a little bit more demanding, right? A little bit more demanding. Media, right? Is it QuickTime? QuickTime what we're using? Yeah, I think QuickTime is what we're using. All right, yeah, H265. Yeah, sure, you can auto, and I'll just leave all that as is, right? And let's add her to queue. And then what I'm going to want to do now is, where's my browser? It's over here. All right. I'm just going to really want to see what she looked like when we do this. Yeah, certainly replace. In fact, I didn't even know there was one already there. Come on, let's go back. Oh yeah, sure is 2.9 megabytes. Just jump numbers. All right, let's give it a shot and see, you know, let's see what happens. All right, hit Z render. All right, it looked like it's definitely putting them to work. As we clearly see, it is most certainly using them all. And the temperature is actually pretty good, 110 degrees Fahrenheit. I know that sounds hot, but for graphic cards, that's barely being used. Yeah, everything looks good. Do I have a thing that shows RAM usage? 26 gigs. Yeah. Yeah, it looked like it did. It looked like it's doing pretty good as far as I can tell. Yeah, this is going to be an amazing machine for network rendering. All right, look like it's almost done. Oh, silly me! I forgot that was yeah, I forgot that was only like what? Is that even like 2 minutes? 25 seconds. 25 seconds, right? And a minute to do. Okay. All right, we're going to jump on our computer here now, and we are going to come on web browser thingy here. Come on. All right, well, didn't want to make it quite that big, but let's go like that. And media. All right, test MOV. Woo, 280 megabytes. Yeah, that's definitely not gonna work, but let's take a look. I'm just curious what does it look like. Yeah, no, it looks like it did all right. Yeah, let's pull up media info here. Oof, 25 seconds, 280 megabytes, so 274. Sheesh. First, of course, you know, this is just like me just sloppily putting it together. Obviously, there's like, you don't need to have it at 8K first off, but I just really wanted to see it and not break a sweat, upscaling and doing all that good stuff there. So yeah, variable bit rate. Sheesh. All right. Well, I want to say that about wraps it. I'm going to real quick do the format that we like to use here, and we do it now. I don't need the HDR. Let me just do this here, And we're just gonna run it one more time, right? One more time. I just want to make absolute sure, right, that everything's working just like I expected to. And it's definitely using all of the available GPUs. Not really touching the CPUs all that much. I want to say, guys, that this is a job well done. This is a job well done.